Is it just me, or is it getting crazier out there? So I have a few articles I'd like to take a look at, but first, for the one that is included in the title, Florida pastor arrested for holding church services. I know there is more context to this, considering the current climate, but you really have to think about this for a second. Did you ever think in your lifetime you would see governments arresting people for practicing religion? And I know the reasoning was, oh, they weren't social distancing enough. Just goes to show how free you really are. Generation after generation giving itself to the machine, and this is what it turned up. This is in Florida. On Monday, March 30th, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office arrested a local pastor who intentionally and repeatedly hosted church services with hundreds of members in attendance, despite knowing he was in violation of orders set in place by the President, the Governor of Florida, the CDC, and Hillsborough County Emergency Policy Group. I have to say I haven't heard of that last one. A bit of authority I didn't realize existed. Dr. Ronald Howard Brown, pastor of the River at Tampa Bay Church, was arrested on 2 second-degree misdemeanors for unlawful assembly and violation of public health emergency rules. When you talk about these stories, there typically seems to be 2 main camps of thought. On one end, you have, well, the government needs to do something, and on the other hand, this is all phony, this is a waste of time, and it's destroying the economy. Usually the truth is somewhere in between. That being said, I don't think the government's reaction to anything has made anything better. Call me cynical, call me what you will. I know that some people are probably happy that they're doing something, but this heavy-handed enforcement of assembling into groups, does this seem like the right way forward? There was a man who once said, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserves neither liberty nor safety." Just what are you willing to give up in order to feel safe?
For what? Arresting me for what? I'm not allowed to stand up for myself? I thought this was America. Huh? Isn't this America? I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
The sheriff had this to say: "I believe there is nothing more important than faith at a time like this, and as a sheriff's office, we would never impede on somebody's ability to lean on their religious beliefs as a means of comfort. But practicing those beliefs has to be done safely." I'm having to take a break between recording my audio to laugh because this is absurd. I saw this in movies, but I didn't expect it to be implemented within my lifetime. And I know some of you might be thinking, well, the government's doing what it can now, it has to. And they will be sure to give up all of their authority once they're done. They always do, right? Remember the Patriot Act? Remember? It's important to note that once you give government authority, the only way of getting it back is, well, I'll let you draw your own conclusion. But wait, it gets better. The sheriff's office made contact with leaders at the River at Tampa Bay Church on Friday, March 27th, following an anonymous tip that Pastor Howard Brown refused requests to temporarily stop holding large gatherings at his church. That's the new thing I've been seeing going around lately. Anonymous tips, people tattling on each other. In a lot of cases, it's entirely unnecessary too. I read a Facebook post out on livestream last night where a bar owner's neighbors called the police on them, claiming that they were staying open despite the government's orders. People all too happy to tattle on one another at a time like this. It's something else. All it took was 1 or 2 weeks of isolation, and now they're so willing to turn on one another. There isn't a word low enough to describe how I think of that. Really think of the type of person you have to be to call the police on people who are hanging out or operating a bar. Turns out they weren't even operating a bar though, they were cleaning. And one of the bar owners, one of the people who was in and out of that bar, was a nurse. They worked at the hospital. So on top of having to deal with all of that, then they have to deal with nosy neighbors turning them into the police for trying to work. I wish I could say this was a one-off occasion, but just in the last week I've seen numerous examples of people gleefully running to law enforcement. I really thought these people ran out of ways of making me feel sick to my stomach. Let's finish this one up here before we move on. His actions were a direct violation of Executive Order 20-5, which went into effect on March 20th, limiting gatherings, including faith-based gatherings, to less than 10 people. I wonder, all of those separation of church and state people, are they going to come up and defend this guy? Are they going to come up and defend religious gatherings, do you think? Or, if this was a different religion, do you think that they would have a different opinion? After all, most people, if they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have standards at all. On Friday, and again on Sunday, Sheriff's Office personnel and legal staff spoke with attorneys representing the church in an attempt to educate them on the orders in place and the dangerous environment they are creating for their members and the community. Neither the pastor nor his church leaders heeded the warnings. Just get a load of this. His reckless disregard for human life. He's a pastor at a church, folks. His reckless disregard for human life put hundreds of people in his congregation at risk and thousands of residents who may interact with them this week in danger. The river at Tampa Bay has an advantage over most places of worship because they have access to technology that allows them to live stream their services over the internet and broadcast television for more than 4,000 members to watch from the safety of their homes. Weird to add that in, and they're trying to shut it down. I mean, pardon the pun, heaven forbid you help them set up the live streaming service, say, hey, just do it from home. Nah, we need to arrest this guy. This article is filled with gems, by the way. I will leave a link to the archived version in the description if you want to read it for yourself. But it concludes here. Due to his disregard for public safety after repeated requests and warnings, HCSO worked with State Attorney Andrew Warren to obtain a warrant for Pastor Howard Brown's arrest on Monday morning, March 30th. Pastor Howard Brown was arrested at his home. Our goal here is not to stop anyone from worshiping, but the safety and well-being of our community must always come first. Serve and protect, more like harass and collect, am I right? Here's another classic. Armed vigilantes blocked a neighbor's driveway with a tree to force him into quarantine. A man from Maine said armed neighbors descended on his home and chopped down a tree to block his road and prevent him from leaving because they believed he might have the gift. The Vinyl Haven resident said he went outside Friday to check why his cable service wasn't working and found a tree blocking the end of his road, according to Knox County's Sheriff's Office. While investigating the downed tree, a neighbor started yelling at him, and a group of people showed up and began to gather around. Believing the group may be there to harm him, he fled into his residence and told his roommates what he had found. Each of these articles, normally an article is pretty boring, but each of these is so dense. The three roommates stayed in the home where they used a VHF radio to contact the Coast Guard for assistance and a drone to monitor the group's activities. This reminds me of an episode of The Twilight Zone called The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. The episode features townfolk down the street as power gets turned off and strange things start happening, but the point of the episode is how they all slowly turn on one another. Here's another one from Bloomberg. Rhode Island police to hunt down New Yorkers seeking refuge. Cars stopped, homes to be checked. Officers halt cars on the interstate to start the crackdown. The paranoia has already settled in, but what you have to realize, the real paranoid ones are the ones that are controlling the police, controlling the military. Whatever you might be thinking, no matter how you might be feeling, you can imagine they feel exactly the same way. But how are things on the other side of the world? I'll do what I like. Dorset woman arrested for endlessly driving around for no reason. South Bournemouth police was pulling vehicles over to listen to their excuses for being out and ended up arresting a woman who was endlessly driving around for no reason. That's a direct quote, by the way. Endlessly driving around for no reason. You're not allowed, ma'am. Do you have a license? Well, do you have another license? It was reported that after lots of swearing from the woman, PC Brooks pleaded with her to go home as her actions were putting others at risk. The woman replied saying she didn't care and that she will, quote, do what I like. She was arrested a short while later for breaching a dispersal notice. But that's not it. That's right, you can help the police track down these socialites who refuse to stay inside. Toronto Star posts, breaking the rules, calls to Toronto's 311 line include complaints about people flouting social distancing rules. But that's not it either. Humbershire Police, Hull, whilst out on patrols, one young man didn't feel it necessary to adhere to current social distancing and became irate and swearing at officers. We felt it only necessary to give him a room at Hotel Clow where he can isolate effectively. And then all of the people in the comments, oh, you should just misplace the key. They're all for. They're cheering this on. They're so happy. They haven't even thought for a second that it might affect them later on down the line. And another from globalnews.ca. If you saw people gathering in a park or having a party at a house, would you call the authorities? No. No, I wouldn't. It takes a special kind of person, and I am not that special kind of person. Here's another I came across. Somebody filming video of people hanging out in a parking lot, and they're all 6 feet apart, but it wasn't good enough. We're supposed to be on quarantine, and these YT people, I think that means white people, having a social gathering in the parking lot. Practice proper social distance, though. Should I call the cops? It's funny, though. You'll notice that certain communities that are infamous for never involving police suddenly want to involve police. Isn't that weird? Well, here's police getting involved in LA. LAPD shut down a birthday party. Police raided the birthday party of a 1-year-old, saying that the raid is justified because of social distancing ordinance. Is this what Trump meant when he said that we were going to get tired of winning? We were going to win so much and we were going to keep winning. We're going to get tired of winning. Is this what he had in mind? Because I feel like a winner, Chad. I don't know about you, but I feel like a winner. And free. And very, very free. Forgot to mention that last part. Free and thankful to our lovely beneficial government. A greater benefactor than we could have ever asked for. Here's one last thing to end the video on. ITV News Calendar. Humberside Police creates online report portal for people not social distancing. They no longer care about people making jokes on the internet. Now they care about people being too close together. Wait a minute, you're not supposed to hug? Step back. No, I don't care if you're married. Stay back. I've said this in live stream, but really Andy Worski is sort of the pioneer of social distancing. But that'll do it for this video. Thank you everybody for stopping by. I know this sort of thing is outdated. I haven't even used this Patreon account in a while, but I'm going to start posting more less edited, ranty, vloggy videos to Patreon to give something exclusive to the people who pay a little extra bucks. Right now it's 8 people. To be fair, I haven't been posting there. I haven't even been using it for quite a while. But I'm going to be more active in it, so if you want to help out the channel, support what I'm doing here while I figure out where my life is going at this point. It's all up in the air. A link to that is not only in the description, but you should see a title card up on screen if you want to click on that. And with that, you all have a lovely evening. I hope everything is treating you all well, and take care of yourselves, everyone.